Welcome back. We're live with more on the New York versus Trump trial as it is unfolding inside the courtroom. Stormy Daniels still on the stand right now testifying. So let's bring in Fox News contributor Jonathan Turley to talk to us about his take on everything that has happened today. I think, Jonathan, the big ticket item is the fact that Stormy is there at all, providing a lot of very detailed testimony about what she alleges happened between her and Trump, 18 years ago.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, the statement of the judge that he's surprised there isn't a higher number of objections from the defense is baffling. The defense objected to putting her on the stand. They then objected to the scope of the questioning. And now the judge sounds like Claude Rains saying, I'm shocked. There's a porn star in my courtroom. Well, if you give a lot of scope to testimony, what did you expect? And the problem with what the judge has done here is that this is an entirely unnecessary witness. It is uncontested that there's an NDA. What happened in their relationship, if there was one, is immaterial to how those payments were denoted by the Trump campaign. So the court had the opportunity repeatedly to say, we're not going to take this courtroom through details of this relationship. If you want to establish that a relationship occurred, do so, establish the dates. But likely those facts could have been stipulated to. So the prosecutors wanted to get salacious details out. And this is a form of punishment. They're trying to use a witness for punitive purposes and, in my view, political purposes. And this is what happens. And it happened because the judge lost control of his courtroom.
Yeah, there would seem to be no argument, Jonathan, that this witness was designed merely to make Trump look like a bad guy. They're talking about finances now after laying out this whole tawdry, salacious history of Stormy Daniels with Donald Trump, which Susan Hoffinger said in a sidebar goes to intent. So they're trying to paint Trump as a guy who'd been married to Melania for a year when this allegedly happened. And you hear the salacious details of this come out in court. And Susan Hoffinger, the prosecution, are trying to say that when Trump heard that Stormy Daniels was going to tell this story publicly, he probably said, oh, my God, we got to do everything we can to stop this from coming out. So, I mean, they've painted this tale for the jury. And as people have pointed out, you can strike whatever you want from the record, but once a juror hears that, it's awfully tough to unhear it.
Oh, that's right. It's like the old Far Side cartoon where the judge is saying the jury will ignore what was just said, and the jury is there with shocked faces. It is. You really can't have this cat walk backwards. The judge knows that. The prosecutors know that. But what the prosecutors are arguing here is completely ridiculous. I mean, he also paid money to kill a story of a doorman that was completely untrue. Does the jury have to know the details of that story? The point is that various stories were killed because they didn't want to get them out. The question is, what was the intent in how they noted these payments as a legal expense? This is on an entirely different continent when it comes to materiality to the charges. And the judge seems to have wanted her on the stand because the judge could easily have said, I don't get it. Or he could have said, you're going to have the fastest witness in history. You're going to establish the base facts, the base dates, and then we're going to bid adieu to Stormy Daniels.
But so once Judge Merchan decided to allow her into the courtroom as a witness, could he have done more to put guardrails in place?
He certainly could.
He could, okay.
Because the thing is, he came back later and he said, you know what, I'm concerned about how far this is going. And it was really sort of like on the Titanic side, I'm a little concerned about navigation when people are heading for the lifeboats. It's a little bit late if the judge was concerned. This was clearly going to happen. This is why the defense team objected. This is why the prosecutors had to argue that they needed the broader scope. The prosecutors literally stood up and said, I assure you, Judge, we're not going to get into genitalia. I mean, is that really the standard that the judge left with the prosecutors? Because it appears to be so. And now the judge is saying, gosh, I wish you guys had objected more.
Yeah. So, we're talking to Andy McCarthy about this. There may be grounds for appeal here, and it's similar. Obviously, the cases are completely different. But it's similar to what happened in the Harvey Weinstein case, that a lot of witnesses who were let in who were not material to the case, but they were character witnesses who impugned Harvey Weinstein's character. But the judge said this stuff was prejudicial, got to kick it out. And by the way, I'm overturning the case. So Trump may be able to overturn this on appeal. But as Andy pointed out, he may get convicted in the meantime. Joe Biden gets to bash him all the way until November for being a convicted felon. And then he gets the charges or the conviction overturned 2 years from now.
I actually think there may be reversible error on a number of fronts. It's going to be hard to correct that. The judge could try to correct some of this in his instructions, but at this point, it would be very hard to do it. For example, the judge has allowed this jury to hear over and over again that there were election violations at the base of this case, suggesting that Trump committed election violations. There's no evidence of that. There's no evidence of a crime.
All right. Jonathan Turley, thank you for your learned opinion, as always.